Well,
Hello. Okay, so this is our first shadow conversation. And I'm taking off my shoes. All of a sudden, I'm getting warm just at the thought of this.
oh, you have a hot shadow.
Okay, so this is Betty, but her real name is Joey Sutton. And
this is Buffy, and her real name is Kelly Sullivan Walden.
And this conversation was inspired by so many things. But we, for years, have been in many conversations that surround and are around the shadow. And we have found over time them to become more and more and more important to our own well-being, peace of mind, healing for ourselves and with clients. And it seems like finding instances of people who shun the shadow, which is the natural instinct to do, by the way, it seems so destructive that it feels like there's an imperative happening as Shadow walks in. We have dogs around here. Yeah. One named Shadow, who's actually now at our feet. So what do you think, Buffy? Why are we doing this?
Well, I think why are we doing this is a really good question. I think first we should define the shadow. I think that's a good idea. And
perfect.
then so let me do some definition, you do some definition.
Perfect.
And then we'll,
great.
So we can get everybody on the same page.
Great.
So I'm thinking about the shadow as all these different parts of ourselves that hide from us. That's why it's called the shadow. It's not so obvious. It's not so clear. It kind of hides from us. It's a little bit elusive. And I also think it's the part of us that hides in the sort of 95% unconscious place, where the 5% that's conscious maybe wouldn't do some of the things that our unconscious does. So I think that a lot of our shadows were born when we were really young as quick little survival mechanisms to get through perceived danger when we were younger. And they were very reactionary, kind of like a rabbit who heard a noise and kind of ran. And it had this instinct to survive and to protect itself. So running became one of its shadows. I don't think that if it were a conscious rabbit that it would always run just because an acorn fell off of a tree and made a noise, but because the impulse to run has been such a safe way to be protected, it became an automatic way of being. And so I'm thinking that a lot of my shadows have their origins. I think this is what's different about shadow work that you and I talk about that feels so different than what a lot of people talk about. I think our shadows have their origin in self-protection. And it's a form of self-love. And I think that the ego has been demonized. It's terrible. We have to get rid of it. It does terrible things. But I think the ego and the shadow are friends, and they're together, and their whole intention is to protect the organism. Whether or not it's a smart protection, whether or not it works is another thing. But I think that its main feature is protection. So to try to stop having the ego run our lives and to be mad at the ego and go, oh, that's just the ego, is a type of discrimination that is at the heart of our suffering. So I want to start there with my definition. I'd like to give a couple examples, and then I'd like you to add in and fill in the gaps and do your version.
Great.
So one of my shadows, just to be revealed immediately, one of my shadows is to be so helpful. Now, that doesn't seem like a shadow. That seems like a good thing, because shadows can hide in seemingly nice ways. Oh, the nice person, the generous person, the good person, the funny person, the pretty person, the giving person. Those can be used as shadows if they're used to protect myself. If I'm coming from a place of fear and I use them unconsciously to stay safe, like I'm just going to say yes to you. Yes, I will do that. I will happily do that. And that's one of my shadows trying to keep me safe. Now I have another shadow I used to call the tweaker. And she couldn't be nice anymore because eventually she had to have a personality. Eventually she had to say no, or she had to say yes to herself. And she didn't know how to do it because she was so busy pleasing. And so she would tweak and become crazy. And her eyes would be like that. And she would scare people. And now she was way scarier than that, because that was very me cute. Pretending to be that was cute, like the Disney version. Yeah, totally. No, my shadow, the tweaker, is frightening, and she's trying to keep people from taking more from me by violently scaring the shit out of them. And that is a shadow that I could hate, and I've been embarrassed of my whole entire life. And I'm coming to fall in love with her because I realize that she's the one that's like, you can't always be nice. It doesn't work like that. That's not even protecting you. You're drained. Every part of you is drained.
Right.
So you can't just drain yourself with goody two shoes.
Right.
And because I didn't know balance, I would, like, this tweaker shadow would come up and go, no, I'm a badass. No, you can't, and fuck you. And wow, she was frightening. And I didn't want anyone to know she existed because I thought for sure, excuse me, and
you did a little accident.
No one would
just be on output all the time.
Yeah. So, okay. So those are my two examples. There's my minor definition of shadow. And I want you to do your definition of shadow or add to or whatever.
Oh my Lord, you just
I'm gonna
said
have a sip
so
of tea.
many good things. I want to go in so many different places. I want to say, just kind of as a context, what I think we are onto is, like Joey said, it's a little bit radical. It's a little bit different than what's out there. Debbie Ford, Up in Heaven, we love you. We've both been completely inspired by you. Dark Side of Light Chasers, The Shadow Effect. And I feel like taking it in some ways deeper, a little further. Joey has talked about her book titled Becoming Called Falling in Love with the Shadow. And then I had the idea of romancing the shadow. And we don't know exactly know what we're going to end up calling this. Maybe it's probably shadow will show up in there somewhere. Because it feels like in some way a shortcut. There are no shortcuts in life, but if there were a shortcut to going from suffering, excruciating pain, to finding peace and ease and even joy and safety and security truly, that isn't fleeting and based on temporary circumstances, I feel like falling in love, romancing the shadow is probably the quickest way to do that. And I say that from my own experience. So let me see. I'm going to give an example or two of mine. I've got many. The shadow shows up in so many ways. One is my ego, wanting to look good at all costs and wanting to create all kinds of things in front of me so that I won't be found as not good enough. So if the shadow had me without me having it, by the way, that's the whole goal of this, is to have the shadow without the shadow having us, to have consciousness around it so that it has its place. It's kind of like having a wild dog that, instead of being inside the house and eating all the food and wrecking the furniture, has its place in the yard as a protector. So it's got its right place. So
it's a good dream for you to share.
That was a dream.
Yeah,
I
yes.
had that dream.
It's a good one.
Oh, we'll bookmark that.
Yeah.
But if my shadow could have its way without me having it, it would have me. There would be, so that what's underneath a big one is the fear of annihilation. I feel like I have been annihilated on an ego level before, meaning that I stepped into a situation. Should I give an example? My God, here's an example. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Okay.
Oh my God. So I was in my early 20s. I was acting. And this is a story I don't tell that often. I tell the one about when my acting teacher kicked me out of class to the death march.
Yes.
So that was my big one. But I've told that one a number of times. And it's worth telling again, probably at some point. But this was a different time around that time. I was chosen to be in like a workshop for directors, and it was at a film school, and this director cast me as the lead in this scene, and we performed the scene in front of his teacher, and it was his class, so he was the one that was supposed to be getting the critique. ugh.
You were just the supporting actor for him.
Exactly.
Okay.
This woman reminded me of Ursula the Sea Witch. In fact, I've named my inner critic Ursula the Sea Witch.
Oh, smart.
Based on her. I have her name. I'm going to say her name because it could be edited. Should I say it? I'll whisper it.
Don't know it does anyway. Okay.
So when we were done with our scene, and I felt like I had done a pretty good job. Okay, I was trying to be an actress. Maybe that wasn't my calling. But what she said was, where do you study? I said, Playhouse West. She said, what did she say? God, I think I sort of blocked some of it out. That was horrible. I wouldn't tell anybody that you study there. And I kind of went numb. So I don't remember the rest of what she said, but I could feel myself in the numbness stepping away, like a hot, cold thing happening. I felt slapped. I wasn't expecting it. If I was in an acting workshop, I would have girded my loins. I would have been like, okay, they may or may not have liked it, but let's see. But I wasn't expecting to be critiqued. And it was scalding, scathing. And I had to pretend like I was okay. And I even thanked her as I left, said goodbye to everyone, got in my car, don't know how I drove, but I got home, got under the covers, and proceeded to wail for hours. And my boyfriend at the time came home. I'm telling the whole long damn story.
Good.
But he was like, Kelly, what do you need? And I was like, you're not my mother.
You wanted your mommy.
I wanted my mommy. And he was like, well, let's do this. I'm like, my mom would never say that.
Oh.
All I thought was, I need to die. I am so bad. It was shame. It was like, I could even feel the heat in my face right now.
Yeah, you're a little bit red. No, I can see you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like it was I got caught with my pants down. And what a loser I must be. I mean, without knowing it, I gave her my power. And the bottom line is the shadow piece was, I felt annihilated. I felt caught off guard and I felt smacked. And even though it wasn't a lot of people, I wanted to look good in front of those people. And I looked so bad. So a creature kind of developed itself to protect me. That was, if I can have X, Y, and Z amounts of achievement and things that make me look good, and if I can be prepared and have all of this, then that will never happen to me again. So if I could work my ass off, and I didn't know that this is how it would turn in, but it turned into so we could say the shadow character became a work Nazi anorexic, because no matter how much work I did, it was never enough. And it was like a running from this terror of ever getting caught like that ever again, because I felt like it nearly killed me. So I have joked about being a workaholic and, I need to calm down. I need to know I'm enough. But really, the shortcut is embracing the fact that this shadow character came out of me, called workaholic, called create the wall, create the smoke and mirrors, so that I would have so many things that people wouldn't ever get in like that. And of course, several of them have, because the wall is never quite perfect. But for the most part, it's kind of like, so yeah, go.
Oh my God, you're still red.
I know.
Oh,
Oh,
my
your
hand's
fingers are so
cold.
cool. That feels so good. Thank you, puppy. And I always get hot when I do these things anyway, but yeah. So I feel like the fear of being annihilated by someone's rage or anger or hatred
or judgment, criticism.
Right. In that kind of way, like that particular brand of annihilation is my kryptonite.
Yeah.
And it seems like what would prevent that would be to have not to have the talent. The talent is another thing, but to have enough credentials or enough books that I've written or enough something that there would be respect enough that they wouldn't do that it would prevent them from doing that. So that shadow has been a blessing because it's attempting to preserve my well-being. And if I, instead of trying to cut it off, trying to get rid of it, trying to kill it off, if I fell in love with it, if I embraced it and recognized how sweet that it's doing everything it can so that I can stay on the planet, so that I don't die. Oh my God, that's quite a service. And that calms it down a little bit. And suddenly I don't feel like I have to run so fast and tap dance so hard. I feel like there's this slight, gentle walls melting and things kind of more softly come together. Is it over? No. There's habits ingrained, and this may be a lifelong or many lifelong experience, but I feel like progress happens when I look for what's right about that shadow and how to love it.
Well said. Thank you for sharing that. I never heard that story.
No?
No. I
can't there's so many.
Okay, but look at Priya.
This one?
Oh,
that's Lola.
Oh, Lola. Oh my gosh.
She's
She's so... Did she smush herself up in there?
She smushed herself. Here,
Oh my
look.
God,
This is
look
what we're looking at. Look at that little smush.
Oh my
it's
God.
like so inside
So cute.
There's so much
Light.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
there she is.
Well, she's
And look,
same
there's
color.
Shadow.
Hi, Shadow.
Can you see Shadow in there? And here, look, there's a little face.
Shadow. Hi, Shadow. Hi, pretty.
And here's little pretty.
Oh, we finally got a full frontal face. Okay, I want to say something.
Thank you for listening. See why I love her so much? I feel like she receives, she gets it. And you inspire, like, oh, what else do I have?
What other shadows can I see and meet and love?
And part of it is to get the shadows out so that they're part of the dance, so that there's more room and bandwidth available to explore some of the higher lights. It's not just about, let's just have a shadow fest and like, this is about like embracing them and finding juice so that there can be, so that we don't split ourselves off when we do find some of those higher octaves. That was beautiful.
Yeah, so I want to say something about what you said about I felt annihilated. And I think this is at the heart of all of our suffering. And so I want to I'm going to chew on this and unpack this conversation between the two of us, because this is the heart of everything. I believe that unless you're a sociopath, that you have some version of that story of I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, or worthy enough, or tall enough, or young enough, or smart enough, or whatever.
Or
enough.
I've got too much of this.
Yeah, and then people won't like me because
right.
They're going to judge me for having too much.
Right.
Totally.
Right.
Yes, and I have a story to tell about that, actually. Do you want to pause or say hi?
Yeah. Okay, don't do me.
Resume. Okay. So I wanted to say, when you talked about how you felt annihilated, that I was just saying that I felt like at the heart of a lot of people's suffering and pain is the belief somehow we're not good enough, that we're flawed or broken in some way, that it renders us unlovable. And the belief that we're broken or not good enough wakes up the need for protection and the need for hiding. And I believe that's where the shadows are born. And there's lots of evidence on this earth that it's not safe to be human. It's not safe to be flawed. It's not safe to, not be good at something. We have lots of evidence to that. And so when we're young and we meet, I was going to tell a story, we meet a judgment and we get the sense that there's something wrong with us.
that we have this natural impulse, like the rabbit running away from the sound. We have this natural impulse to cover it up, to hide it, to pretend it's not there, or to try to be better in some way. So one of the incredible stories that you know about me, but I want to articulate it as best as I can in this vein, is when I was younger, I grew up in an upper middle class home, and there was a man that owed my dad some money, and we had nice cars. My dad had a BMW, and my mom always had a Volvo or a BMW, or my dad had a Corvette once. And, we had decent cars and a 2-story house with a swimming pool in the valley. And we weren't rich, but we had everything we needed. And one day, my dad was owed some money by a friend of his, and the friend gave him, to pay him off, gave him a limousine. That's how he paid him off. And my dad hated to drive. So he hired his nephew to drive the limousine for him and drive him places. So we looked like we were rich kids on the block because my dad had this limousine. And it was a hand-me-down limousine. It wasn't like some $100,000 limousine. It was a hand-me-down that cost.
But it looked like it.
Yeah, it probably cost less than what my dad's BMW cost, but a limousine means something.
Right.
So my
It's
friend, my best friend who lived across the street at the time, she made this comment with what felt like this tone. Your family's rich, aren't you? And I immediately was a rabbit that wanted to run away from being eaten by the judgment that we were rich. And I was like, no, we're not rich. No. It's just somebody owed my dad some money and they gave it to him, and it really didn't even cost that much. And the guy that drives it is his nephew, and he doesn't really, no, we're not. I didn't want to be whatever that thing was.
Right.
That would render me unlovable. And can I just tell you, the course of my life changed that day. My relationship to being unlovable if we had money, being unlovable if I had money, being unlovable if I had opulence, if I had more than somebody else, my relationship to that, I was 13 or 14 years old, my frontal lobe wasn't fully formed. I didn't know how to navigate her attitude with my reality. And all I knew was I wanted to not be whatever someone would judge.
Right.
And so I wonder, the movie Sliding Doors, like I always wonder where my life had gone, right? Had I been able to interpret that differently, if I was able to not take that personally, if I was able to love myself where I was, if I was able to hear her jealousy in it, or her longing and wanting, if I was able to do any of the stuff that I know how to do today.
That you now know how to do because of that.
And the trajectory of my life with this relationship to I'm not rich, I'm not going to be rich.
Right.
I'm going to relate to the poor or the people that struggle, because then I will be likable and lovable.
Right.
Only to find out that you get judged when you don't have anything either. So it's not like I got to be safe, but that's what my shadow created, this broke person.
Right.
I got to be broke-minded because I thought that would protect me and make me feel loved. Ooh. So where I was going with this, I want to say this thing about the annihilated. I think our shadows are born to protect us from being annihilated. But the relationship with what is annihilatable is what I want us to continue to talk about here. What is annihilatable isn't real.
Right.
Right? Oh. So, this thing that people call the ego.
Yes.
We have to love it. It's trying to keep the organism safe.
Right.
And I'm going to do my spiel here. And I know you have a lot of bookmarks, but let me just do my spiel about what I believe we're made of is the same stuff as the space between the stars, and the stars is the electrons in our atoms. And I believe that we are made of this infinite stuff that happens to be congealed into this point of view on this facet of the diamond of infinity that we see out of this one little facet. But we're the whole thing with our point of view out of this one little facet. So technically, if we're made of infinity, and the laws of physics say that we are made of the same stuff, and I could give my spiel, that there's 100 trillion cells in the body, and that each cell is made of 100 trillion atoms, and each atom is made of 0.0000001% actual physical matter, and 0.99% space, and 0.0000001% matter. So the truth is, we are actually made of what the stars and the space is made of, and we are made of infinity. And if that's true, then we are not annihilatable. And so everything that's been born
Yes.
out of protection and defense
The ego.
is, and I don't even want to say that, it's just the false belief, right? False evidence appearing real, fear, right? It's that thing that we believe is true that we're protecting. And we have this whole life. Like, I believe that if I were poor or if I were rich, I would be judged and I would be unsafe. I believe that there's something in me that can be annihilated.
Right.
Anytime you believe one of these false things, the conclusion is a completely inaccurate conclusion.
Right.
It brings us to the wrong island. It's untrue. And so I feel like the game for us that we're trying to play is, let's reveal the shadow. Let's reveal the false belief. Let's uncover it. Let's reinterpret it. Let's rewire it. Let's be grateful for it, because maybe to some degree it did keep us safe up until now.
Right.
But the very mechanisms that are trying to keep us safe are also really hurting us and thwarting our growth. So I can say 1,000 things more, but you have a lot of bookmarks in the air, and I'm going to stop there and hand over the talking stick.
On a parallel plane, don't ever stop. Just keep on. I mean, that was so beautiful. That was everything.
Oh,
that was good. Mariah Carey would be jealous.
The glass would Don't make me do that again. I'm afraid. Go.
Oh, so I love that we've gotten right into annihilation and the fact that we can't be annihilated. I had an aha at some point. It was around, I was having a fight with Dana, my husband, and we fight every once in a while, but not as often these days, seems.
Because there's a story about that to tell.
There's a story about that to tell.
There's a game.
There are so many stories.
There's a game to play.
Oh my God. Okay. But this was during one particular challenging moment where I was so upset, so angry, and so like ripped to pieces inside. And I was about to, like, the next day I was going to have a girls' weekend with my girlfriends from high school. Every once in a while we get together, and we're still friends all since high school. And I observed my anger, my fury was part and parcel because I was about to have this girls' weekend the next day. And somehow I stepped outside of this ball of rage I was in, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I'm especially angry. And because I have this weekend, that's making it even more so. Why is that? Oh, because I want them to think that I am doing well. I want them to think that I'm in a great relationship. I want them to respect me. I want them to admire me. And the way I feel right now about my relationship and in my relationship is not respectable. It's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed. If they knew, I would be so embarrassed. And then all of a sudden there was this other thought. It was like, the only thing that could get embarrassed is your ego. So all of a sudden I paused, and I literally, like, all my angst froze for a second. And I was like, that's interesting. So it's happening. My upset is about my ego. It's about potentially not looking good in the eyes of my friends. Really? Like, that is going to justify this phenomenal destructive rage, this little bitty wanting to look good? So it's like I called it out, and I wasn't being loving and kind to my ego at this moment, but at least it was identifying what was under there. And I thought, I'm not dedicated to having my ego run the show. I know my ego has its place, but if it's just my ego that's so upset, well, then that's okay. Then I'm actually okay. I'm having an upset with my husband. It all of a sudden totally de-escalated, and it was a revelation. And since then, there's been so many other moments where I'm like, oh, I'm like, is that my ego? Yeah, it is. Oh, okay. It's not what I'm dedicated to. It's not what my commitment is. So it's okay. And so I know if I was going to go the full circle, it would be, and thank God for my ego that wants me to look good, because that actually does keep me inside certain parameters of safety, well-being, and wanting to better my relationship and improve our communication. And so thank God for that. But in the moment that I was in the rage, my shadow had me. I didn't have it, but the awareness of it turned the tables, and it had me have it. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So there was this, like, okay, it all has its place. It's all okay. I don't know why I'm bringing that up, but it was annihilation. If I could go back to that moment at that director's workshop and ask myself, what's so upsetting? Do we need to look? Why am I so devastated? Is it my ego? I go, oh yeah, it's my ego. Then I wouldn't have gone. I mean, I didn't take my life that night, but I thought about it. And I had to drive a car, a motor vehicle, while being saturated with those thoughts. I think, if I'm going to just kind of draw a massive conclusion, crimes of passion, suicide, self-destructive actions that can result in robberies and mass shootings are the ultimate act of being self-destructive. There is some shadow that is acting out, that has the person by the throat and is making up the story that this is the most important thing. The person doesn't have their shadow has them. And I feel like I could join them. I am them. I'm no different than them. In fact, I would say we're all them. And it's in that awareness, the game to have the ego without it having us, and calling it out, first of all, where there can be a shift. And there was other things I was going to say, but I don't remember. So I pass it back to you.
Yeah, let me just add to that. And there's something I want to repeat over and over as we talk about. And I just want to say,
will repeat a few things.
Yeah, I think it's important to repeat this stuff, because it's what, every time we meet a shadow, we have to repeat this to ourselves.
Yes.
I feel like the more we repeat this out loud,
because the first instinct is to go, ugh.
Yeah.
Is to get rid of it, to knock it over.
Like that.
To knock it on its head.
Excuse me.
No, we want to put it right side up.
Yeah.
So it has its right place.
Oh my God, you are the metaphor queen. Oh, the dream queen. Okay, so what I wanted to say is I just want, a lot of people say don't engage with the ego. Just put it aside. Don't engage with it. I don't agree.
In fact, Marianne Williamson, even in A Course in Miracles, they say that the ego is ruthless at best, something diabolical at worst.
Yeah, see, I just
don't agree.
I really want to turn, I want to release the discrimination against the ego. I think that if we had successfully found ways to rid ourselves of our ego, by now someone would have discovered it. And just like if diets worked, we'd all be thin.
Right.
I don't think it's the way. I don't think getting rid of the ego is the way. Shunning it is not the way. Discriminating against it is not the way. Rejecting it and criticizing it is not the way. If it were the way, we'd all be ascended masters by now.
Right.
I know I have criticized, rejected, oppressed, and suppressed my ego as much as I possibly can. And there it still is. So, and you know what? And I'm not a slacker with my internal work.
Right.
So to say I gave it a good shot would be an understatement. So what I want to repeat here is the same thing that happened with your acting teacher. You didn't want to be caught being imperfect, or you didn't want to be caught being inauthentic, or covering up your imperfections, or whatever they didn't like about your work. It was like maybe you weren't being authentic. I don't know what was happening in that acting, that scene. I don't know what that person saw that they didn't like. Maybe you had a shadow trying to cover up something. I don't know. I'm making that up. But let's say that same thing was there with you about to go be with your friends from high school, and you didn't want them to see that you didn't have a perfect life. That somehow if someone saw your imperfections, that they wouldn't respect you anymore. And so the rage, the internal ego rage, the shadow rage of, no, I don't want anyone to see this, is like the good intentions of the ego to go, I want you to be safe. I don't want anyone to see that you're imperfect and annihilate you again. So if I rage enough, I will change myself enough, or I'll change the situation enough. I will be so mad, I will scare my partner into changing. I will scare myself into changing something. But I want to see the good intentions. You always say, what's right about this? What's right about the anger? What's right about that I'm so mad that my relationship doesn't look good? What's right about that? Well, I think you want to be safe and loved. I think you just want to be safe and loved and respected. And you somewhere believed that if you weren't perfect and you didn't have a perfect life, that you wouldn't be safe and loved. And you've had a lot of reflections of that. You even had reflections if you were too perfect, that you wouldn't be loved. You have nowhere to go. You've had nowhere to go. If I'm too good, they hate me and they bully me. And if I'm shitty, then they're going to find that I'm imperfect.
And if you're poor, then you get judged. And if you're rich,
I get judged. Exactly. There's just nowhere for us to go except for to embrace all of it.
Right.
So I think that my bottom line here is to look for what the good intentions were behind the ego's desire, so we can understand that it's aligned with the same thing we're aligned with. We want to be safe and loved. And because safety and love were defined when we were too young, before the frontal lobe was formed, we have to reconfigure, reinterpret what safety and love means and how we feel safety and love. And more importantly, we need to stop externalizing safety and love, and we need to internalize safety and love and project safety and love. And then if we happen to get the feeling of safety and love from out there, it's whipped cream, but it's not where we get it from.
It's whipped cream.
It's whipped cream.
Right. Oh,
on the side. Whipped cream on the side. Dairy-free whipped cream on the side.
That is so good. It's like Julia Cameron said, all the accolades in the world are fool's gold compared to the real gold. That is what happens when we give that to ourselves. Oh my God, you said so many things. I feel like I want to underscore a couple of things, and it's like not in any linear order necessarily, but you said at the beginning of when you started talking about the child aspect of us, I want to just re-presence that the child aspect of myself, of all of us, comes in completely glorious, without a defense mechanism and without a shadow. It's just like, it's all beautiful, because there's no, we say that it would be the left brain that can separate you versus me and good and bad. It's just all there. And it's all these electric fences that we hit as we're going to, don't eat that too much food, be a good girl. Oh, you don't look good. Oh, this makes you look good.
Don't be rich.
Don't be rich. Poor. Don't be poor. And for me, it was, I was called a slut before I had ever kissed a boy. So don't be a slut, so I ended up being the last one to lose my virginity after everyone else who wasn't called a slut, that did a lot of slutty things. They had a lot more fun than I did, because I was trying so hard to not be a slut. That's another one for fun.
That's a good one.
So I think I'm always looking for shortcuts. I don't know. I'm gonna blame it on my grandma Sullivan. She was always looking for shortcuts. So I'm honoring her in my perpetual pursuit of shortcuts. But I think another shortcut through this whole maze for me is to think about the baby aspect of myself and everyone else, and to think the destructive ways weren't there at the beginning. They were developed to compensate, to keep us here. So that's a way of being able to sort of identify the contrast between the shadow behaviors and the schisms around the shadow versus the true self, the pure self, and who we're coming back to. Nietzsche, do you know about Nietzsche's 3 metamorphoses?
Say.
This is just a great, quick little story. He says, we start off as camels, not camel toes, camels. Ew. We start off as camels, and
Hold on, I had to distract. Okay, this hair keeps ending up on my eyelash.
It's really sexy.
And I keep
it's
going
so
like
cute.
this, and if I keep doing this 5,000 times, I'm gonna feel really self-conscious. So I'm just gonna say right now, I'm doing the best.
It looks so cute.
Okay, but
my
it's
gosh.
on my eyelash, and
That's what you get when you have hair like that. That's so sexy.
Right, but if you're on film and you keep going like this, it's just silly. So I just thought I'm gonna just tell you.
Here, shellac.
Do it. Thank you. There's hairspray in there, actually. Okay, thank you. All right, Nietzsche, camel, no camel toes. So sorry.
Okay, stage one.
Call myself
we come into this world, we're a camel, and the job of the camel is to get loaded up with all the stuff of society. So you carry all the customs, all the mores, all the shoulds, all the shouldn'ts, all the stuff. And if you're a good camel, you are muscular and you can carry all this stuff. And if you do that successfully, you've completed stage one, yay. Then you graduate to stage two. Stage two, you become a lion. And your job as a lion,
sleep all day.
No, not in Nietzsche's
formula. It's a girl lion.
A girl lion.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. It's a girl lion.
Okay.
And the lion's job is to go out into the desert and seek the dragon thou shalt. So yes, Nietzsche, who's going to mess with him? If he says so, then so be it. So you find this dragon called thou shalt, and you know it's thou shalt because written on all of his scales are little sayings. Thou shalt be nice, thou shalt be good. They're like encoded. They're encoded, and it's us. It's society.
This is what we're carrying around.
This is what we're carrying
around.
All
these thou shalts.
And it's all these thou shalts. So you have to find it, and then you kill it. You slay it. You annihilate it. So you're tearing it apart. Like, what's true? What is true? Is the world flat? Is it round? Is it better if I'm a good girl and I am this little robot? What is that? Stepford girl? Is that really what I'm supposed to be? What if that's not it? What if it's the opposite? What if wild is better? What if slutty is good? Even though it's a little too late, I'm in a monogamous relationship. I guess you can be slutty there. I can be slutty there.
Totally.
Hey.
I know someone that would really appreciate that. No complaints.
That's a whole other video for another day.
That's a completely different video.
But anyway, so that's your job. So if you successfully find thou shalt the dragon and you slay him, then you graduate to stage 3. Guess what stage 3 is?
The phoenix.
No.
What?
It's a baby.
Oh.
So Nietzsche puts the baby in the end, where the baby is like an awake, aware, totally beaming, beautiful, loving, innocent, open-hearted baby that has no shoulds, no scales, no walls, but it's just beaming, glowing awareness and love.
Baby.
Like pre
baby.
That's stage 3 right there.
Oh, little baby.
So
put lipstick on her head.
There we go. It's okay. She likes it. So that to me, like, what's the whole point in all of this? I feel like in many ways it's to come back to, it's to get to that baby place. The baby has embraced, it's looked at, it's dealt with, it owns it, but they don't own him, her, and there's this glowing. And I feel like there's little baby moments that happen every time there's a shadow that I look at, that I go, okay, let me face this. Because there's always this one again. Oh my God. Okay, let me look for the gold here. And instead of slaying the dragon, it's more like unpacking it and looking at it and shining light. And in some way it does slay the dragon, because the dragon transforms from being fire breathing to becoming an ally. So you slay the former relationship to it in some way, and it becomes transformed. Okay, why am I saying all of that? I don't know, but it feels like it. Okay, now I'm gonna tell one other story, and then I'm passing the baton.
I want to say something about the dragon.
Say something.
Okay, let me say something.
Yeah.
Okay. Just because I feel like you and I are trying to redefine the way people are dealing with the thou shalts and the egos, and so I'm trying to come up with a new visual to see Nietzsche's dragon.
Yes.
That maybe each scale that has a thou shalt, that we look at each that we look at each thou shalt.
Yes.
And ask if it's relevant today. And, if that's not relevant today, that we thank it.
Right.
I love in the Ho'oponopono or the Huna or ancient, and Huna is actually a form of Hawaiian mysticism, and there's ancient Hawaiian mysticism, and then there's Huna, which is a combination of Western psychology mixed with Hawaiian mysticism. So it's not the pure stuff. But one of the things that they say in Huna and Ho'oponopono practice, which means
she's licking you like
she's
crazy.
licking like crazy.
Is it making you crazy? Is it okay?
Because
she will
it's
never
making
stop.
me a little bit crazy.
Okay, she will never
Not
stop.
crazy. It's just something a little bit distracting. But she's so cute. I
think she feels so powerful when she's just licking. She's an expert licker.
Wow. Okay.
She will go to town doing beauty shop on Lola, lick her ears, her nose, her eyes, and Lola just sits there.
Well, then I'm just going to sit here and be loved.
There you go. No, you go work on Lola. She needs a little beautifying.
Anyway, where was I?
Pausing. Oh,
okay.
No.
So
I'm gonna let her out. Go get Dana. Go get your Dana.
Anyway, I don't remember exactly what I was saying, but just
Huna mysticism, psychological.
Thank you. Okay, so basically, there's a saying called Ho'oponopono, and I actually don't know the translation, like the narrative about it is not something I've memorized, but the way it's used like a tool is there's 4 sayings, and it's I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And that we greet every thought with Ho'oponopono. We greet every negative thought. We greet every positive thought. We greet every negative person, every positive person with Ho'oponopono. So I'm just imagining applying Ho'oponopono to the scales of the dragon so that we look at each thou shalt and ask ourselves if this is relevant now. Whether it is or it isn't, we say, thank you, I love you. Sometimes we say, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And we turn the scale over.
Right.
We don't tear it apart or rip it apart. Maybe we just turn the scale over because you know what? We might need one of those. My little inner tweaker, I might need her. If someone attacks me in an alley and isn't relating to, hey, I see you have a need that's not being met. Can I give you some money? Right. And they still want to rape me. Then my inner tweaker, my best friend, I turn that little scale over. Thou shalt protect yourself at all costs. Right. Like I want her. I don't want her to go away, but I want to have her and not have her have me.
When she says tweaker, by the way, if you're thinking like drug tweaker, no. It's more like that. Just wigs out.
Yeah, wigs out because sometimes my little nice girl is so nice for so long that she's not doing enough proper self-care, and then
boundaries.
And then she swings to the other side and becomes ridiculously painfully entitled, which is the opposite of what she's trying to be. But that's why we have to find what Suzanne calls the self-full place instead of the selfish place or selfless. Self-full. Exactly, Suzanne. We hear you. So
Suzanne Rock Sterling.
That self-full woman. All right. So I just want to say that about just every opportunity we have to change the discrimination against ego. I want us to unpack it. Back to you and your story.
And this is one of the things I love about Joey, because I feel like she will go to another and another and another layer and I'll stop at just kind of being cordial with my shadow. Like, okay, I recognize you. I see your place. But I feel like there's a sweetness that Joey brings to this. I mean, I think in my mind, I think with every shadow, I want to meet it, kind of like Rumi's guest house poem.
I don't know it.
Oh,
do you have it memorized?
Partly.
Okay,
this is the totally butchered part. You're gonna
do the butcher.
You have to memorize this. You're gonna love this. Okay. This being human is a guest house. Every day a new arrival. And I'm going to butcher this rest, but sometimes it's a joy, sometimes it's a sorrow, sometimes it's a band of sorrows that come in and rob you blind. Greet all of them at the door laughing, because each one is a messenger from beyond. He says,
mine too, a hair standing up.
So even though one of the lines I missed was, the band of sorrows coming in and sweeping your furniture, robbing you blind, they may be clearing you out for some unforeseen delight. Greet all of them at the door laughing. Greet them all, invite them all in, because each one is a messenger from beyond.
And that reminds me of a line from a Rolling Stones song. You can't always get what you want. Let's just go straight to the other line.
But if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need.
Well, because it reminds me of, like, you know, one minute I was cutting hair, and the next minute I had 3 surgeries and was taken out for 8 years. And my life was annihilated. And you could easily look at that and go, oh, why has God forsaken me? You know,
oh, Job.
But that's the fire and the pressure that creates diamonds out of people. And I wouldn't be who I am today. It's a lot easier to talk about diamonds on the back end.
Right.
You know, during the fire and the pressure part, not so fun, easy to feel forsaken. But I know that I wanted what I got out of that. And had I known what the class was going to look like, no, I would not have signed up.
Not with your conscious.
But on this side, you know, I prayed for humility and humbleness. Actually, humility is not my favorite word, but humbleness, compassion, right-sizedness, empathy, kindness, generosity, service. These are the things I pray for. Well, good Lord in heaven, what comes out of having your life annihilated?
Truly annihilated, not just an ego. With the body
annihilated, and the finances annihilated, and my freedom annihilated. And this story could be for another time, but let's just say I had a profession and then I didn't, and I couldn't move and couldn't take care of myself and had no income for years. And, you know, I did do, like, with one finger, I, you know, did data entry, and with one finger I built a website or 2, and, you know, I did things, and then in between I could do a few things for money, and then back to surgery, and then back. So okay, so not the class I would have signed up for. This was sorrow, a pack of sorrow coming in and just destroying my house.
Clearing you out.
Clearing out my house. But, you know, sometimes you can't remodel the house. Sometimes you have to burn it down to build the right size one. And I would not want to redo that life again. But I really want what I have because of it. So it's easy after you have the baby to go, oh yeah, I'd have another baby after that 8-pound, 8-ounce monster came out of me and ripped me to shreds. But you're like, oh, he's so cute, I want another one. Because you forget how much it hurts because you like what you got out of it.
Right.
So how did I get on that rant?
Oh, that's beautiful.
The sorrow. You're talking about the sorrow.
Yeah,
and I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry for judging that they shouldn't have been there. Please forgive me for I did not know what was going to happen next. Thank you for bringing me those gifts. I love you. I love my life. Thank you for this life. So I just wanted to add that.
That's so important.
Okay, I need hairspray. I can't keep doing this.
Okay, we're going to get some hairspray. And this is still recording. I'm going to just get rid of that. And I think I'm just going to save this in case it deletes for some reason. Right here. And here we go. We should get a little closer though. Oh.
Are we rolling? Is it on?
Oh shit, I didn't hit the fuck. No, I have to delete that.
Well, you saved it, right?
Yeah.
Except for people already liked it, which is a bummer.
Right, but no. I am going to get rid of that. Poop heads on a shingle. Edit.
Yeah.
Edit, because I want it to be Facebook Live. I didn't hit the video.
Oh. Okay, can you do it from there?
Damn. Hang on. I have to get rid of this whole thing. All those people, I have to re-add them.
Oh,
yeah, I have to do. So it's okay. We'll just re-add them. So here we go. I'm putting this back in. But I have to, all of these things, aren't hot anymore. So I have to add you. I have to add me.
The hashtags stay, though.
The hashtags
stay. Now you have to add the friends again.
Yep. I have to add all of them.
Okay, it says Walden.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So now all the friends.
And that says Sutton.
It does? Okay. So remind me, I have to hit the little video.
Okay.
Okay, so here we go. Tag friends. So I'm going to do you for fun.
Okay. Let me get some liquid. We're about to Facebook Live right now.
And then
We're tagging you.
and then so post and say something, hubby. Nancy Telzero, who am I missing? Wendy.
You got chips?
Gypsy, thank you. Steve Jacobs. Deborah Jacobs.
I think you did Tamara. Oh, you did Tamara. Okay.
Okay.
My mom. Madeline.
Oh, right. And my mom.
Right, your mom. And how about Helen?
Right. Okay, now I'm hitting the live video.
Live video. Okay, hold on.
Let's get it.
Can you make it go down more? Because it's...
Yeah, that's actually Zoom. That's not.
Oh, okay. Oh, it turns us around.
Let me see if I can move this thing down.
Oh, this way.
You know what we can do? Leave this up here so that we have something to remember to look, and then I'm just going to minimize this. Oh no, but then we won't. I'm just going to see if I can make it small. Okay. Do you see us? Are we in a good spot? Except I'll sit back in a second.
Okay.
Okay. Share the screen. Oh no. Okay, ready?
We're just off center still. Which way does it go to be more?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. 3.
All right. Do you want to start?
Okay. All right. This is the first time you and I have done a Facebook Live.
It is.
So if you're not watching this from my page, hello, I'm Kelly Sullivan Walden, and this is
Joey Sutton.
And we've been friends for a very long time. And one of the things that we talk about in almost every conversation is the shadow. And it seems to be building up steam and amplifying lately, I think partly because of politics, maybe partly with the cocktail of holidays, partly with the Me Too campaign, and I think partly just our own healing. And it seems like we keep bumping up against insights and ahas that feel really juicy and feel really healing and feel actually selfish to just keep to our selfish selves. So,
Which we have been
for years, but we thought we'd share them. And maybe you think we're smoking crack, but we're not. We're falling in love with the shadow. So what do you think about that? All right. So how do you want to start this?
Okay.
This is radical. So put on your big girl panties, gird your loins. What does that mean to gird a loin?
I think it means to protect the loin.
So if you're Debbie Spector Weissman and you're watching, that means put on your codpiece.
Your codpiece. That's right. The genius codpiece.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, first of all, Kelly just mentioned the name of my book. So
Falling in Love?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Falling in Love with Your Shadow. So that's the book that I want to write after the 2 books I'm writing right now. And Kelly was talking about writing a book called
Romancing the Shadow.
Right. So we both are doing
little
these
chocolates for the shadow, enticing the shadow instead of doing what the knee-jerk reaction is to do, which is like, first of all, I don't have a shadow. What are you talking about?
Shadow.
I'm totally perfect.
I'm perfect.
I am totally perfect. I always have been, always will be. If there's anything wrong, it's your fault or his fault or her fault or Trump's fault or somebody's fault, but it couldn't possibly be me. I'm fine. Fabulous.
No.
Or we just cover it up, build a nice big castle or Taj Mahal around it to cover that baby up so that you'll never know it's there. Or what else do we do?
We defend. We deflect.
Or say
we criticize.
Or I'm getting rid of that stupid thing.
Or we hate ourselves. That's the big one, is we hate that part of ourselves. We know it exists. We hate that you see it, but we also hate it too. And somehow that makes us safe. Right.
We have to annihilate it. We have to get rid of it. We have to do some kind of surgery to like cut it out. Because if I could get rid of that shadow or that ego or those self-destructive tendencies, then we'd be fine.
And safe.
But how's that working for you?
Not so well.
How's it working for you?
It hasn't worked.
I've tried it.
I've tried it.
Not so much. How's it working for you? Oh, Art Renelford said, in the spiritual life, you are the center of the universe. Thank you. Your thoughts are things. Yes, that's so true. Very true. Krista Ankeny, great stuff. Thank you. All right. So I think I want to jump in with my little dream.
Okay.
Because this, again, we're not trying to stir up controversy, but if we do, then bring it. A few years ago, I had a dream that it was back when I had Woofy. Some of you know about my dog Woofy, big old fluffy white dog that was just so precious and dear to me. And in my dream, there was this like gnarly wolf coyote kind of a thing. We'll just call it a wolf because in my dream I called it a wolf that was chasing Woofy, about to eat her. And I had a sliding glass door. I don't in real life, but in my dream I had a sliding glass door on a patio, and I was able to get Woofy inside, slam the patio door shut just in time. And the wolf is like Cujo on the other side, barking. And I was like, oh my God, okay, we're safe. And I don't know if I woke up from that dream. All I know is that I got back into that dream with the intention, I'm really not safe, because although I'm okay at this moment, Woofy's okay at this moment, I can't go outside my house. What happens if I need to go to the grocery store? What am I going to do? Cujo's out there. I'm like, I need to do something with this wolf. And I had been doing some shadow work. This was years ago, so this is kind of cursory, but I felt like it was profound. So in my dream, I telepathically asked the wolf what it wanted and why it was there. And it telepathically said back to me in this scowly, I don't know what the voice was, like a very haunting voice. It was like, I'm hungry. And I noticed for the first time that it was really skinny, and it was, hi, Dana Walden. I don't know if I can go back and forth. Hey, girls, who's the giraffe?
Miguel!
Luis Miguel! Nancy Telsero, you know all about Luis Miguel and Woofy, and Woofy loved you, by the way.
Luis Miguel was a giraffe that kissed Kelly on the head.
Nancy was there to witness it.
I know she was, but nobody else knew.
But not with her camera, because they told us to put cameras away. Then the giraffe kissed me.
Oh, God.
I know, but she was there as a witness, so I'm not crazy. I am crazy, but not about that. Okay, where was I? The hungry wolf. So I said, what did I say? I said, what do you want? I said, I'm hungry. And then I noticed it was super skinny. And I was like, wow, you are hungry. Okay, I can't feed you. I can't let you in my house, because if I let you in, you will eat my dog and you will probably eat me and you will wreck my house. So no, you can't come inside. So I had this vision of this little area in the backyard that had a chain link fence. In real life, I don't have a chain link fence around my backyard, but I did in my dream. So I went into my dream refrigerator / freezer, and I had steaks. And so I threw them in the backyard, and I directed somehow the wolf, I don't know how, but it got into my backyard. It ate the steaks, somehow unthawed them. It was a dream. I don't know exactly how this happens, but it ate the steaks, and then it curled up into a little ball and hung out in my backyard. No longer my enemy, suddenly my new watchdog. So should a villain or a thief come to try to steal something from me, they would have to contend with that wolf. And I felt like I had the right relationship with this wolf. But here's the thing. I realized, oh wait, this is kind of like that saying that it's gone around the internet a million times about the two wolves and the shaman and his grandson. And he says, oh, there's two wolves and they're fighting, and one's a good wolf and one's a bad wolf, and like a white wolf and the black wolf. And the little boy says, who's going to win, Grandpa? And the grandpa says, the one you feed. Which at the time felt really empowering and really like, oh yeah, so feed the good wolf and the goodness within you will prevail. If you feed the bad wolf within you, the shadow wolf within you, then the shadow will take you out. But in my dream, it was instinctive to have both of my wolves taken care of. But I thought, wow, that really goes against that thing. Am I feeding my bad wolf? But it didn't feel that way. And I went in and did some research, and it turns out that there's this whole conversation online about what Carl Jung would say about that. And he would say, of course you feed both wolves. Both wolves serve a function. And here comes my black dog, Shadow. Want to see Shadow? I don't know if I can.
No.
Okay. Yeah, she's black and she's down
You can't see her. She's a shadow.
She's so dark. And she's looming and she's right here and she's wanting to be recognized. So it felt like the ultimate expression of having... Wow, it fell over again.
Let's leave it there.
Okay, I think on that note, I'm passing the buck to you. The baton. What do you?
Well, I love that story about the wolves.
Dana said it makes a lot of noise when we put cups on the desk.
Oh, thanks, Dana.
Thank you, Dana.
Okay.
Thank you, Dana.
Okay, so I think that story is amazing, and I actually have that in one of my books. I put that story in one of my books. But I think what's so important about what you just said is, I think there's a part of ourselves that we reject.
Yeah.
And the part that we reject is the part that growls and screams and bites and gets starving and ravenous because it needs something.
Right.
And I think one of the reasons we wanted to do this this Facebook Live and the books that we want to write about this is because we want to change the culture of our relationship to the ego and our culture to the relationship with shadow. And we were just talking about how, like, if diets worked, we'd all be thin. And if getting rid of our ego worked, we'd all have none, especially those of us that work really hard at not having an ego. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. And I think it's true. And I think it's really dangerous to use definitive statements like the bad and the good wolf and the bad wolf. This is why I love the yin and yang symbol. There is no good and bad wolf. There's a bad and the good. There's good and the bad. There's always something in it that we need. It's here because it needs to be here. It provides a purpose. Cockroaches provide a purpose. We can't call them bad. We would be full of trash. Our world would be full of trash if we didn't have cockroaches.
Really?
Yes, they eat the trash.
Oh.
They're absolutely necessary. So we can't call it bad. And I still can't figure out why fleas exist.
Okay.
But I'm thinking maybe they create disease, and then disease causes population control, and maybe it helps keep the world from overpopulating. I don't know. I just made that one up off the cuff. But the reason we're speaking is because we want to reveal the shadow. We are both unsuccessful at concealing our imperfections and our shortcomings. We're unsuccessful at it. And I know Krista's brother, Jeff, sent me a quote that said,
write this down. Wait.
This is so beautiful.
Get ready. This is the quote of all quotes.
This is the quote that will underpin
I'm going to tattoo it to both of my arms.
In Arabic.
Arabic.
Because it's prettier in Arabic.
Okay.
Yeah. So the quote is, our faults are more pardonable than the means with which we use to conceal them.
Say it one more time.
Our faults are more pardonable than the means with which we use to conceal them. And so
one more time, please.
Okay. Write it down. Our faults are more pardonable than the means with which we use to conceal them.
So give an example.
Okay. So for example,
I got one.
Okay, do it.
All right.
I don't have one on the tip of my tongue.
I think the shadow takes something like Debbie Ford, the author of The Light Side of Dark Side of Light Chasers, and The Shadow Effect. She would say that the shadow qualities are qualities just turned up 10 notches too high. So I'm somebody that some could call a workaholic, and oh no, why are you crying? Come here, Lolita. Excuse me. So the natural tendency to create is a really, really good thing, but it becomes a shadow when it like grabs me by the neck and it tells me that I'm not enough if I'm not producing a certain amount. And what is that covering up? What was my point? Lola distracted me. I don't know. Oh, the means by which I used to. Okay, so what it's covering up, we talked about this in this thing that we just did. Is this fear of being annihilated, fear of being caught with my pants down, so to speak, fear of, like, even when I was young, very, like, I don't know, 10 or younger, my dad, who is awesome and who loves me to pieces for sure, but he would catch me he would call me lazy. Like if I was just kind of staring at a wall when I was supposed to be cleaning something or doing something where I was like, yeah, I'm doing that thing. And he would walk in and catch me not doing that thing. And I was called lazy. And it was said in such a way that I knew it wasn't a good thing. And it was something that was a shameful thing. And like, I never wanted to get caught being lazy. It didn't mean I didn't want to be lazy, mind you. Being lazy and kind of lollygagging and kind of chilling out is quite pleasurable, quite awesome. But for anyone to catch me, like if you ever walked into my house while I was sitting down watching television or taking a nap on the couch, literally feel my blush.
My hands are nice and cold.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you are totally warm.
I'm warm just thinking about getting caught being lazy. So what covers up for that is, look how much I'm doing, look what I'm producing. So no one could accuse me of being lazy again. So that's okay, so say the quote again.
Our faults are more pardonable than the means with which we use to conceal them.
So me being lazy is more pardonable than me being this like crazed tap dancing workaholic. Is that kind of?
Well, and that would suppose that lazy is a fault,
right?
And only because someone called it lazy. Technically you were laying down. Technically that's what you were doing. Someone called it lazy, and lazy has an interpretation that's negative, and we don't want to be anything that's negative, so we cover it up.
Right.
So yeah, we want to change this culture.
Right.
Right. And I think if we could just jump forward to the conclusion of all the
here's the punchline, people.
The punchline is that we want to become impervious to criticism.
Are you gonna take a nap after this broadcast? Yes, I will.
She's gonna take a nap during this.
You wanna?
Yeah. Here, why don't you
want to catch me being lazy?
Yeah, you lay down. Okay. So I think that what the opportunity is that we can become impervious to criticism if there's nothing we don't allow ourselves to be.
Yes.
So you call me lazy.
You are so lazy.
I totally am sometimes. You're a bitch.
I am. Oh my God. It's true.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
I am.
I can be totally freaking selfish and self-centered.
You are so selfish and so self-centered.
I totally can be.
Yeah.
Okay, now, if you were a real person and you said that to me, because you're not a real person
I am
right
not
now.
real.
If you said you are so selfish and self-centered, like that, I would say, in my head, I'd say I am that. I'm not going to take the criticism part. I won't take on that I'm bad and wrong part, but I will say, yes, I am that. Right. Because there's nothing I'm not.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
If you get nothing else out of this whole thing that we're doing, try this one on. Next time somebody says something, you are blank, and it's a negative thing, try just saying,
I am that.
There's a place where I am that.
There's a place where I have that. There's nothing I'm not.
Even if it's one tiny speck from 15 years ago,
right,
when I was high on LSD, but just kidding.
But you've never been high on LSD.
But even if it was like one little speck, it's like, I am that.
One little thought.
Right. Because in the sense of it, it's like we are, I think Einstein said, we're either infinite or not. I don't know. That's not exactly the quote, but the idea is that we're infinite beings, and within infinite includes
everything.
Good, bad, fat, ugly, skinny, wrong, overachieving, underachieving, lazy, selfish, snarly, bratty, hungry, farty, whatever it is. It's like, yep. So just that practice is like, it's so good. But there's like an extra layer. So we're going to do two more little things, and then I think we'll leave you along your merry way. But in my mind, this is what I picture. And I know you kind of take it to another level, but at the very least, when a shadow is identified, like, wow, they caught me being lazy, or they caught me being arrogant, or they caught me lying, or they caught me being, oh my God, what was that woman from our writing class that she called me overbearing?
Oh.
Do you remember that day?
No, I think I was busy with the woman that judged me for being a victim.
Nancy knows. Nancy and I talked about this on Spiritual Girls in a Material World about, like, I so thought she was going to say, you're loving, because I was beaming love at her, and she's like, she was the psychic that was giving every person.
Yes.
Every person a one.
She said I was closed. I was. I didn't want to be read. So she was right.
But she would say, loving, generous.
To each closed.
Overbearing. I'm like, I was so shocked because I was trying to beam love at her so that she would tell me how wonderful I was. And then I had to go, she's right. I am overbearing. There's a place where that's true. Okay, but here's what I envision. Once I work my way through it, it's natural to be repelled at first by being called something that we think is not going to win us any brownie points. But when we do our own inner work, we can give ourselves brownie points for this thing because it's part of what makes this whole tapestry of who we are. So, for example, overbearing. I say in a very soft
What's right
voice.
about that?
Did you hear how soft I said
heard
that?
it.
How demure.
Sugar-coated shit. That's what I like to call covering up our flaws. Okay.
I'm not overbearing. Whatever you want to do, it's fine.
It's all fine.
It's totally fine. Okay. Wow. Okay. So in my own journaling or meditation or voice dialogue or whatever it is, I will think to myself, okay, I am overbearing. It doesn't feel good. I'm repelled against that, but let me see how I can fall in love with that, how I can romance this shadow.
And how you can find what's right about it.
Right. So, okay, what's right about overbearing? Well, if it wasn't blown up 10 notches too high at its core, it's assertive.
Right.
It's expressive.
Right.
It demands the right to take up space. Those are good qualities. Those are like, hey, life, I'm here. All right, I'm starting to feel better about overbearing. And then I imagine that I literally put an award around its collar. Like overbearing, I'm giving you an award because you've worked hard. You've been a part of my life and you've helped me in some way. So I'm going to give you a Medal of Honor for that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I respect you. And I think you're basically complete with this leg of the journey. But what if what's next is the 2.0 of you? What if together with consciousness, we give you a raise and not raising up the level of, what was that word? Overbearing. Not becoming more overbearing, but becoming the higher level of overbearing. Like if
the higher version of it.
Right, like if overbearing got a facelift or if overbearing became enlightened. If overbearing became enlightened, it would just be assertive and it wouldn't have to be overbearing all the time. It would be able to know when to hold them and when to fold them. It would have its sense and it would take its place when it was time. So to me, that's kind of been the process that I've done. But you take it to a whole other place. The way that you speak to it, the way that you like truly romance and love the shadow. I mean, so give a little example of what you would say to my overbearing self, my overbearing shadow.
What would I say to your overbearing shadow? I would thank it. I would say thank you so much for claiming my place. And wait, who's talking? I'm talking to overbearing.
Yes.
I'm you, and I'm talking to overbearing.
Yes.
Okay, it's a form of dream crafting. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so I'm Kelly, and I'm talking to overbearing. I would say thank you so much for claiming my space on the planet. Thank you so much for letting me have enough confidence that I'm allowed to exist. Thank you so much for allowing me to command the energy of the room or the space to make something happen that I think needs to happen. And I don't mean to bowl over toes. And I'm so sorry. I'm forgetting who I'm talking to.
Right, I know. No, but,
sorry.
But you know what? In this,
yeah,
I can feel my own like judgment around overbearing that feels like a tight, shaky fist around it. It feels like it softens and opens and melts and becomes kind of like a flower. It becomes like, so I only act out. My shadow only has the grip on me when I'm trying to suppress it. But
and when you're not hearing what it's trying to say to you, it
exactly.
needs something.
It's like an overprotective parent that's saying, don't ride your bike in the street, you're going to die.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, Mom, so what you really meant, my mom, I think she did that once to me, actually, where it was like, don't ride your bike in the street, you're going to die. What she was saying is, I love you so much. You're so precious to me.
Right.
It would devastate me. It would kill me if anything happened to you. Please be careful. Tell them the story about your mom. And Madeline is in here watching. And hello, Maria Rangel, you overbearing, lovable, yummy, gorgeous woman. I love you. So about your mom and your grandma, that one day when she showed up.
Okay. So, all right, Mom, excuse me if I exaggerate just a little bit. Okay, Mom. So my mom had a challenging relationship with her mom for most of her life. And there was a time when my mom showed up at her door 15 minutes late, and my grandmother, we called her Bubby. So there you go, Bubby. So, Bubby opens the door and says, "You're late." And
didn't she say it like, "You're late"?
Well, that's the version I remember. My mom doesn't remember it that way, and she doesn't like it that way. So I'm not going to say it like that. Okay, Mom, I'm respecting you. So just imagine some version of "you're late," and you feel made wrong by that. She felt made wrong by that and upset by that for half a minute. But then she realized what my mom is really saying is
her mom.
What her mom. Oh my gosh, I'm mixing everybody
up. It's okay. We've got layers and layers and layers.
Please read the lines. Okay, so what her mom was saying to her, what my mom realized what her mom was saying to her was, "You're not here. I was worried about you. I love you. I miss you." So my mom actually said that. She's like, "Oh, you were worried about me." And my Bubby's like, "I was." And she's like, "Because you love me." She's like, "That's what I'm saying."
Right.
So a lot of times what we feel is not the way we sound. But if we interpret it, I'm just losing my focus.
I know there's so many things going on here. No, but what you're saying is if we're in the presence of somebody else's shadow, if we develop the ability to look past what that thing is that we would react to and look for what's good about it, what's right about it. So what's good about being yelled at and saying, "You're late"? It's, wait a minute, you love me, you value me, you missed me,
you care about me, you're worried about me.
Exactly. Right. You're worried about me. That's a big one. Mm-hmm. So then all of a sudden, like the shadow, the whole idea is to have the shadow without the shadow having us. And when you can do that within yourself, it's easier to do that with other people in your world. And hello, Fire Star. She says, overbearing joy at seeing both of us live. You're here with us. Okay. So what else do we want to say?
Well, I feel like that little thing kind of fell off the cliff a little bit. So we need to do something redeeming.
Okay.
We're talking about falling in love with our own shadows. I think the most important thing,
right,
if we can embrace all of our own shortcomings and our own shadows, then when someone reflects their anger to us, maybe this is what we're missing.
Yes, right.
When someone reflects their anger to us, we can hear what they're saying that's true while not taking on the judgment part.
Right.
Right, which is what we were just saying earlier. It's like,
you're late. I am late.
And I'm so sorry, but I don't have to take on, you don't have to take on "you're late" and "you're a jerk for being late." Like, yes, I'm late. The jerk part is your opinion. I don't have to take that part on.
Or maybe I
made a mistake. Maybe I'm a jerk too. Yeah, maybe I'm a jerk too. I'm late. I'm sorry. I'm a jerk too. I'm so sorry if I hurt you with that. Sometimes I'm late and I'm a jerk.
It's kind of like, I mean, you're a Tai Chi person. You do Tai Chi like every day, like where there's this movement and there's no like smack. It's like not resistance. It's like, yes, I am that. And what can I do that's creative with that? Okay, so on that note, here's one more thing I want to throw in there.
Okay.
So there's a character, a person in the world. See if you can guess what I'm talking about. Little hands, big mouth. Okay, so
orange hair.
Orange, right. Happens to run our country. And from my perspective, my goal in finding peace is to embrace whatever it is I'm seeing that I'm reacting to and wanting to go, ugh, that shouldn't be there. Let's get rid of it. I know that is a fool's errand. That's probably going to amplify it even more. So I reach toward, how can I embrace this part of myself? So some of you might hate me for this and you might unfriend me, and that is okay. But to me, it's been very challenging to embrace my inner Trump. But it's been my goal to, and we can say a little bit more about like, what does he represent? What kind of part of the shadow does he represent? But I was kind of shocked that there were some people that I consider very sophisticated psychological teachers, gurus, that
and Jungian experts,
yeah,
that know how to take a shadow and see that part of ourselves.
Right. And I said something about my work being about embracing my inner Trump. And both of them, independent from one another, said, pardon the frog in my throat, they said, I don't have an inner Trump. No way. No. I mean, I'm all for embracing the shadow and all that, but Trump takes it to another level. There is no inner Trump in here. And to me, that was like, wait a second, we're either everything or we're nothing. It's either all a part of us or it's not. I don't know that there's any peace for me to be found without embracing him. That didn't sound right. I don't know if there's peace to be found if I leave him out, kind of like that wolf on the outside. I'm safe, I'm okay at this moment, but he's still at large. He's still out there. I need to find a place for my inner Trump. And it's a work in progress because I still find myself going, is he impeached yet? Is he impeached yet? Is it happening? Oh, no. So until I go, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever be like, yay.
I don't think we have to accept the external.
Right.
We don't have to accept his behavior to find those adjectives that he is within us. And also, you and I both have within us the people that are like, no, I'm not that. That's a part of us too. We're no, I'm not that. I have that as well. Those deflections and those defenses are there to keep me safe. I don't want you to see that I have any reprehensible qualities. So I just want to be practical for a second.
Yes.
If I steal this from you?
Steal it.
Okay.
Run.
So just to be practical, one of the ways that we use other people to mirror us to us is by breaking them down into adjectives. Right. So
break them down.
I'm clearly not the president of the United States, and I'm not a man, and there's all sorts of things I'm not, but
yes, you are.
Am I judgmental? Sometimes, yes.
And do you have a masculine side of you? Do you have a presidential side to you?
Can I be misogynistic? I have to reach to find it, but I probably could find it.
Oh yeah.
I could find it in my youth, actually.
Mm-hmm.
There's a shadow story there that's not going to be told right now.
Right.
But there's a shadow story of, where I was, have I been a liar? Yes. Have I been hypocritical? Yes.
Have I covered up for stuff?
Have I covered up? Have I deflected? Have I been conscienceless about certain actions? Yes. Now, do I have to be the same size as him to see myself in him? No. I only have to see the smallest bit of him in me to know that it exists in me. It's not him that exists in me. It's those qualities that exist in me. And if I reject those and I reject an aspect of myself, and then I have to keep performing and performing and performing and being good and spinning plates and being nice and dancing around, and I cannot maintain that. It's impossible. So it's easier for me to say, yes, I'm all of that, than to continue this impossible infinite dance.
So I just want to throw in this piece because this is something that I just heard yesterday. I was listening to an interview with the guy who wrote the book Tribe, and I can't think of his name. I'm so sorry, but his book is called Tribe, and it seems like a wonderful book. And he was saying something about the basic idea is how people that live in a tribal way, that work collectively and depend on each other and rely on each other, are happier, live longer lives, are healthier, all kinds of stuff. And when you live in a sophisticated society like we do, when there's wealth and where you don't rely on your neighbors for things, there can be more of this them versus us and this disconnected energy. And he was saying that from a macro perspective, all of us humans, from a biological and cellular perspective, if you just looked at us from like a biological perspective, and even from many other perspectives, we are all of us humans are 99.9999999% the same.
Which is the same amount of space there is in an atom.
Interesting. So the part that we grapple about when we say them versus us or him versus me is so minuscule in comparison to the bigger picture of how much we are alike. So it's just teeny, and for it to create the amount of turmoil and suffering and heartache and disease that it does, it just doesn't seem worth it. It doesn't seem in perspective. So this is kind of a tangent, but I feel like it relates in some way to recognize that even all those qualities of the shadows that we shun, they all exist within that 0.0001%. They're small, they're teeny, and yeah, they're all a part of us. So I don't know where to wrap that piece up, so I'm just going to throw it back at you. You have anything?
I'll catch
it.
There you go. We were talking about
Let's see if there's anything else going on.
the Ho'oponopono earlier.
You calling me a hoe?
I'm calling you a hoe.
I am that.
A hoe.
I am that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've never got paid though.
Yeah, me too.
I give it away for free.
Yeah. Okay, that's like being a stupid hoe.
Maybe we want to be a hoe.
That was okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Oh, good Lord, no.
Okay.
That was recording.
Okay.
Live shadows revealed. There we go. Hey.
Wow, this has been a very long.
Oh, we should
been
stop
on for 34
talking.
minutes. Okay.
Okay.
So how about we end this with a couple of questions?
Yeah.
So so do you find it challenging, easy, okay, to embrace your inner Trump or whatever political public figure, Harvey Weinstein? Ugh. Do you find it difficult, and are you open, willing to explore that there's a part of you that could be represented in them, and by embracing that part of you, there could be the absence of the turmoil? Like we almost like that, what's that saying about having a resentment is like eating poison and expecting someone else to die?
Right.
I feel like there's a lot of poison eating that feels very righteous, that actually is tearing away at our well-being. So if the goal is to be peaceful, happy, expansive, joyous, energized beings, then one way to get there is by falling in love with the shadow. And how to get to that is by romancing the shadow. I think the romancing might happen before the falling in love.
Yes, yeah, it comes before.
It's a little bit of a bridge.
And how about courting the shadow means finding out what its good intentions are.
Curious about it.
Yeah, like what was right about that? What was that person what need were they trying to get met out of that? What need are we trying to get met when we're using aberrant behavior? It's not beautiful, but there's some kind of need we're trying to meet. The organism is trying to survive and thrive in some way, and it's trying to get its needs met, whether by hook or by crook, whether by, by acceptable means or unacceptable means. Somehow there's an attempt to survive here,
right,
and there's some good intention underneath, even if it's aberrant. And we don't want to continue to feed the aberrant intentions,
right,
but if we reveal the aberrant intentions, then we can redirect our behavior to be what we consider of higher value, but not at the effect of cutting off or denying some part of ourselves.
So, okay, Trump. This ties in coincidentally or not coincidentally to being, what's that word? I keep forgetting the word that I was called.
Oh God, it was not like dominating, it was overbearing.
Overbearing. See, I've done some work on it, so I can't even remember the word. But
or you're
so if
Shut up, I am that.
Shut up, I am that.
Okay.
So to me, if I look at Trump as a composite of adjectives, one adjective would be overbearing. One adjective would be selfish. An adjective would be
narcissistic
and egotistical. So I would break each of those down and look for, I would say, yes, I am that. I am those qualities. I have those qualities. They don't have me at this moment, but I have them.
And they may only be small.
They may just be,
or they may have been bigger before and they're smaller now.
Correct. Speak for yourself. Just kidding.
Are you saying you're bigger?
I don't know.
She's bigger.
I don't know. I am large Marge, and she's itty bitty Betty. Okay, so identifying those qualities. I'm trying to create a formula here. So where's the trigger? Anytime there's a bristling, there's like, whether it be about self or about someone else, identify that that's there, and then break it down into the qualities that are the despicable qualities. And then notice if those qualities were chilled out a little bit, what's good about those things. And then identify, put the little award and give it a chance to up level, but then be grateful for how it's played its part in the matrix, in the composite of what's made us up. And okay.
Well, and let's add to that. And also,
you like write it a love letter practically. Like,
I do write it a love letter. I can't write one to Trump right now. I'm not that enlightened, but I'm working on it.
But you're working.
I'm working on
it. You could
that.
write it to the individual qualities.
I do. I could write it to
within
the qualities.
yourself.
No, I totally could actually.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah. But what I also want to say is that sometimes these qualities reflected, sometimes they're just a great reminder of what parts of us we want to be less of. Not hating, not rejecting.
Right.
But like, you know, if I find myself really judgmental and then I'm with someone who's really, really, really judgmental, I find myself saying, oh, actually, that doesn't feel good. I see myself in that. Thank you for reflecting that to me. I think I would like to be more accepting. So sometimes what the gift is I want to be less of that.
Right.
And that's okay. It's not that it's bad, but it doesn't make me feel good.
Right.
And I'm not sure that person's getting their needs met. I'm not sure I get my needs met when I'm that way. So what need do I have when I'm judging someone? I want to feel better. Does that make me feel better than them? Why do I want to feel better than them? Because I don't feel good enough? Isn't that the heart of all of our pain? We don't feel good enough some way. So we do this spiritual bullying on each other. We're like, judge you so I can feel better. Okay, so I recognize that I want to feel better. Okay, how else can I feel better in a different way rather than making someone smaller than me? Can I feel better by remembering who I am? I'm part of that infinite nature of divine intelligence. If I can know myself as that, then I don't have to compare myself. There is no better on a facet of a diamond. They're completely unique. So can I just remember that I fell asleep for a second and thought I was not good enough? And now I can wake up and go, oh, wow, if I'm doing spiritual bullying, if I'm judging someone, then I must have fallen asleep and forgotten that I'm infinite. I must have forgotten that. I must believe that I'm not good enough. And I need to wake up and remember who I am. So maybe I need to use my own inner judgment as the alarm clock that says, you fell asleep and you forgot yourself. You compared yourself to someone. You made someone bigger than you, and you try to be bigger than them by judging them. Not my favorite way.
Ew.
Not my favorite shadow. But Shadow, thank you for showing me that I fell asleep. Thank you, Shadow.
God, you're good. And how does this tie into a holiday theme? Ding, ding, ding. It's like Scrooge is the ultimate shadow character in A Christmas Carol.
I think so.
Yeah. And I don't know, to me, all of this is like, it's kind of a Scroogey thing where Scrooge gets to wake up, and the Scrooge stops becoming so Scrooge-like because he wakes up and he sees the full trajectory.
He sees humanity. Yeah. That's a nice tie around, Buff.
And the little tiny Tim or whatever, it's like they all kind of aren't judging him, or I don't know. I think I think I'm going to take a nap. I think the lazy me is going to go take a nap.
Okay, we're going to be done.
Actually, I think we're going to go for a hike and then I'll take.
We're going to, yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, we can't be lazy.
All right. So, any insights about your own? I don't know. This kind of froze. So maybe we've been frozen. We've been talking to ourselves this whole time because I can't see any comments, and I think there have been some. But sorry if you've commented and we didn't talk to them while I look around for this.
Okay. Well,
no, I don't know. Okay.
So we're wishing for you more embrace of your whole self, and just a reminder that there's no love like the love that comes from within.
Ooh.
You know, like if 50,000 people thought I was terrific and I hated myself, then 50,000 bits of love would go into a bucket that had a hole in it, and it wouldn't mean anything. So if we can love ourselves, then anybody else that loves us is whipped cream.
Oh.
And not the whipped cream on a sugar-coated shit cake. Not that kind of whipped cream. The whipped cream of just like, that's extra. That's extra. Thank you for showing love to me that I already showed myself.
Aw.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to just see. Okay, Linda Cunningham. Hello. Linda Cunningham Hernandez. Oh, well, congratulations, Linda Cunningham. Julie Isaac, people's opinions about you is usually way more about them.
That's right.
Than you. They're looking in a mirror.
Well said.
Well said.
And Terry Cole Whitaker had a book back in the 80s, remember?
Mhm.
What you think of me is none of my business.
Mhm.
That title changed my life.
Nancy T said, Sebastian Younger. Thank you, author of Tribe. Thank you, Nancy T. And Mariah Diamond. Ha ha ha. To get money? Time to get money. Okay. I like that. Melinda Conde, Julie Isaac said, you two are great together. Thank you for sharing yourselves with us. Thank you, Julie Isaac. And let's see, Josh Walden. Do you have a shadow?
Who? Us?
No, we're perfect.
A tribe of shadows. I have a tribe.
Yeah, so many.
Maybe we'll do more of these and we'll reveal our shadows and make it safe for you to reveal yours.
Oh yeah, I've revealed a couple.
We have.
A little lazy and overbearing. Just to name a few.
I'm closed.
A couple. Oh, you are closed.
And narcissistic and misogynistic and selfish and critical and judgmental. But we can back it up with stories. Let's make it safe for people to reveal themselves.
Yeah.
Little bit at a time.
Let's see, Josh. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Josh. I didn't see that you commented. And I'm just now seeing that everything froze. He said, wake up and remember you are basic. Josh Walden. Speak. Preach. Awesome. Okay. So
we'll be done.
Oh my God. All right. So if you've got a shadow part that you want to celebrate, fall in love with, I don't know, call it out.
Court, reveal, meet.
Maybe say what it is and then what you can find that's lovable about that.
Or what its good intentions are. At least what its good intentions are. Its intentions are to protect us in some way. Even just to protect the mechanism or the organism of the body. Sometimes that's all it is.
Everything in the dream, and this is all a dream, is in service to our health, our healing, our wholeness. I believe that's what I say about all dream things, but because this is also a dream, then I think that's true too. So even the funkiest, chunkiest, monkiest, me too, shadows are underneath it. They're trying to get somewhere. I don't believe, and some of you might unfriend me for saying this, I don't believe there's a devil out there. I don't believe that there's this big, scary enemy out there. I believe that the enemy is just the aspect of ourself that has been unloved, shoved in a closet, bound and gagged for a while because it started off expressing itself. It hit an electric fence when she was little.
A whole bunch of times.
A whole bunch of times and went, okay, that's not okay, that's not okay, that's not okay.
Right.
So I think it's really, yes, there's funky stuff that happens in this world that we can't immediately find an answer for. Yeah. But I know in my own world, one of my tragedies, and I've had a handful of them, when I looked after, it didn't happen immediately, but in time, I found blessings in those things. And I found that they were life-serving. And I think it's there if we look for it. So it's Christmas season, it's holidays, it's Hanukkah. Let's look for the gift.
The gift we give ourselves is to look for the gift.
Yeah.
So that we can become more integrated and stop being separate in ourselves or stop trying to be something that we're not. Yeah. It's a lot less work to take off the superhero cape and just be a human.
And to be around family, which a lot of people do this time of year. Family is such a ripe opportunity to notice where those triggers are and to notice what you're called. What do they call you? What do you call them? What are the issues that come up? What a perfect opportunity to make note of the shadow characters and them and you and us all and wrap it all up in a big, beautiful bow of healing. So on that note, embrace your shadow. Unwrap it. Mwah. Until we meet again.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holy days.
Happy holy days. And
to you.
Okay.
Okay. Good job, Buffy.
Oh, there was more. I'm going to practice this for a week.
I couldn't see any of this.
I know. Aw. We could just go through and like and yeah, it doesn't make it easy to do. You have to kind of be hands-on here. Look at all these.
Actually, you need someone working the computer while people are,
Exactly. It's too hard. Okay. I love Josh. And Josh. Okay. Oh, so we still have Zoom going. I think we're going to stop Zoom.
Chris is like, hike, yes.
Hike, yes. Oh, hike, yes.
Yeah, because she wants us to go. So.
And say bye to Zoom.
Bye,
Bye, Zoom.
I'll put my glasses on.